Okay, so Friday morning Pilates. Where did you all go? I want gallery view. Ah, I'm getting messages I don't want. All right, there we go. All right, so let's gently shake our hands. Shake them out to the sides a little more vigorously now. Let your fingers droop. Let your wrists open a little bit. Shake back down. Shake them up overhead. Shake your legs too. Let your knees bounce a little and just get that lymph flowing. And then let your arms swing down and swing back up. Let your knees bend and reach and bend. Let your gaze turn skyward and earthward and skyward and earthward, and just swing up onto the balls of your feet and back down, up and down, up and down. We swing and release and swing and release. Woohoo! On the ride of life, that's what we're on. Let's swing and release. And let's just circle the shoulders. And let's circle one and the other and just stretch across. Maybe one elbow and the other. So move slow enough for your body. Don't feel like you have to go fast. You do what's right for you. And you can open your arm. I just taught a yoga class on the doshas, and one of the doshas is Pitta dosha. It's the fire in our bodies, fuels our innermost intentions, but it's also the fire of the heat of vigorous movement. So we're getting that Pitta dosha activated right now. Okay, now pause here and just swing one side to the other and let yourself flow. Water and earth are both kapha dosha in yoga. And then the last of the three doshas is vata. Inhale, swing your arms up and back down. And vata is sky, it's air and space. And we want a balance of these elements and energies in our bodies, minds, and hearts. Inhaling. Oh, good. A few more people are making it. Susie and John were on a generator the last class they came to, too. I don't know if they've got their power back. But I heard other people near where they live aren't getting power for 6 more days. So let's now swing side to side and let one arm go forward and one arm go back, side to side. To move this towel. I'm drying things by hand that were in the clothes washer. I kept thinking the power would come back on and that room's really cold, so I left them in there for a day, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pull them all out, dry them around the house, swinging side to side, hopefully warming up the body a little bit for our day ahead. My 2 cats are sitting outside on the picnic table, looking a little chilled. Okay, now let's come in. If you want to pick up your hand weights, not required. We're still going to continue with the warm-ups. When you get your hand weights, let's start with marching. Opposite knee to hand, come forward and let your head and shoulders rest back. We'll get the heart rate up a little, get ourselves warmed up. So kind of feel into your posture here. And since we're so forward leaning often in life, let yourself lean back a little bit. Rest the head and hyoid bone back. And don't force the elbow back too far, because that'll bring the head of the arm bone forward into the rotator cuff, which is where it frequently gets injured. Maybe you march up and down your mat a little bit, backwards and forwards. Look out the eyes on the back of your head and think of what you're marching towards when you're marching backwards. That'll help you bring your head back in space. I love that fact. And then let's pause the marching and swing out to the side again, and in, other side, and in, one arm forward, one arm out, and in, inhaling, exhaling, reaching and releasing, gliding side to side. We bring in this idea of water flowing through our Pilates exercises. Feel your feet on the ground. Make sure the back leg keeps you connected so you feel like you can balance with your spine. And then come back to center. Bring your arms up into their cactus position and open your feet wide. Turn the feet out and exhale, pinkies together. Inhale, a lifted heart. Don't take your elbows too far back. Instead, broaden across the chest and inhale into the sternum, lifting the sternum bone, stretching the ribs. Exhale, pinkies together. Take an inhale into the back body. Lift the back ribs, lift into the back of the spine. And then exhale and take a few breaths, inhaling, opening the front chest. And one more time, pinkies together. Inhale. Bring the back ribs away from the vertebrae with an expansive inhale. And then open the arms up. Bend your knees a little more. Remember, knees are kind of pointing out over your second metatarsal bone. And press your arms up. Release elbows wide. Press and release. Press and release. Now we have the quads working. While we work the upper body, that should still help build our heat, our fire. And then open wide, pinkies together, and arms wide, together, and arms wide. We're pumping the lymph in the armpit through those lymph nodes, cleansing the body. And we reach and release, reach and release, reach and release, reach and release. Straighten the legs, turn them in, step together, bring your palms to face each other, bring the hands down to your robot arms, and bend your knees, and hinge forward, and straighten the arms back, and bend, release towards the floor, and lift, and straighten, bend, release, lift, and straighten, bend, release. Make sure you're broad across your collarbones, that when you straighten your arms, you really feel the shoulder blades on the back body. Lifting and bending and releasing. Lift, open, bend, release. Lift, straighten, bend, release. One more. Hold, lengthen through the tailbone to the top of the head. Broad across your shoulder girdle. Really feel into your own strength. Knees are bent. We're warming up our quads. And inhale. Come back to standing. Circle your arms in front of you. Come to parallel with the earth and step to one toe. See if you can balance on your standing leg and lift the knee and tap, lift and tap, lift and tap and lift and tap. Step down. Take your circles the opposite way. Lift to your toe. Activate your glutes. Hug into that river. Create banks from the outer edges and lift and tap, lift and tap, lift and tap, and lift and tap. Step down. Take the arms wide. Remember, they don't have to be totally wide. They can be a little forward. And lift to one toe and lift and tap, lift, tap, lift, tap, and lift and tap. Step down, lift to the toe, circle the other way, and lift and tap, and lift and tap, lift and tap, and lift and tap. Step down, release your arms, circle one shoulder and then the other. Sway the body side to side. See if your shoulders are a little more warmed up. Maybe the elbows come up. Remember, the circles can be very small if you have shoulder issues right now. Okay, you can make a really small, even a little bit forward circle. That feels better in your rotator cuff. So explore what feels good. And then come to stillness. Open into your T again. Lift to one toe. Activate your glutes. Lift the knee. Feel into your standing foot. See if you can straighten the leg. Heart lifted. Really ground through the four corners of the standing foot and release. Lift to the other toe. Hug in towards midline. Open to your T. Lift the knee. Heart lifted. Lift the leg. Tailbone grounding. Really stand strong into your roots so you can lengthen the spine. And release. Now take one foot behind you. Bring your arms forward into robot arms. And lift the heart. Lengthen through the front of the spine. Reach your tailbone for the back heel and lift the back heel. Lift and open. Turn your palms up. Reach the arms slightly forward and take them slightly wide. Lifting into a standing back bend. Lift your low back ribs. Lift the base of the skull and release. That's a nice psoas stretch as you strengthen the back of the body. Robot arms. Take the other foot back. Lengthen the front spine. So you might feel from your inner thigh that you have to stretch up the front spine. Lift the pelvic floor to support you. Reach the tailbone for the back heel as you lift it off the floor. Palms open up. They reach forward and slightly wide. Lift your heart. See if you can lift your gaze. And release. Bring your hands into robot arms. Take the next foot back. Now really hollow into your front pelvis. We're not back bending this time. Lift up and hinge over your front leg. Release your hands towards the floor and see if you can open them like wings. Virabhadrasana 3 in yoga. You can stay here or you can try taking your wings forward hard with hand weights and release. Pause in your mountain pose. Take a few breaths and visualize the other side. Take the next foot back, arms to robot arms. Feel your shoulder blades on the back so you're aware of your four corners of your torso. Lift the lifting foot and hinge forward. Release your hands towards the floor and open the wings. Fluid breath. Toes of the back foot point down. Reach out through the heel and perhaps reach the arms forward and lift back up. Pause in your mountain pose. Float one arm in front of you and back down. The other arm in front, back down. Float and down. Float and down. Now float the arm and the same side knee up and down. Perhaps the knee lifts. Down and lifts and down. Lifts and down. And down. Now lift the knee. Take it out to the side and bring it in. Remember, you could be on the toe. Lift and open, close, and lower. Lift and open, close, and lower. Now try the other side. Lift and open, close, and lower. Hug in the standing glute. Lift and open, close, and lower. Lift the heart and open, close, and lower. One more. Lift, open, close, and lower. Lift both arms out to a T. Lift one knee. Ground to the tailbone. Lift the low back rib ring. Keep that length to the spine as you lift the knee. Open wide. Now try crossing the knee over the body. Come back to center and lower. Lift the knee. Open wide. Cross the center line. Come to center and lower. One more time. Lift. Open wide. Cross the center line. Come to neutral and lower. Try the other side. Lift. Lift the knee, open wide. Cross slowly the center line. Come to neutral and lower. Lift. Open. Cross the center line. Come to neutral and lower. One more. Lift. Open. Cross the center line. Come to neutral and lower. And roll your shoulders. Okay. Step to the right side of your mat, heels together. Bring your thumbs to your shoulders. Now really find the inner heel point where your heels touch. Zip up the midline from there. Activate the front and back of your inner thigh. And then lift through the pelvic floor. and hinge to the left and float back. Hinge and float. Keep the right outer heel grounding and don't make the step too large. Don't lean forward at the pelvis. Keep a straight line up the spine from the back heel so you're not hinging at the hips. And then if you'd like, reach your arms and float back and reach, float, reach, and float, and reach, and float. Step to the other side. Heels touch, zip up the midline. Really feel the legs hug like they're one mertail up through the pelvic floor, and then hinge to the right and float back. Hinge and float. Don't make the step so far that you can't float. Check in that the back knee does not hyperextend. And you reach and back, reach and back. Find your breath. So either inhale and exhale or exhale and inhale. And one more. Beautiful. And release your arms. Let's release the hand weights and let's do just a little gyrokinetic motion before we come to the floor. Let your arms swing now, hand weight free. You'll probably really feel like you're floating. And maybe you let it become a slight twist and you feel the body floating through space. Let yourself now become air. Let yourself float like a bird with really light, hollow bones. And come back into center. Let the legs go still and let the arms circle like a mini butterfly stroke. Forward, 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 and forward, and back. The elbows back, back, and back. Now lift to one toe, release. Lift to the other toe and release. Lift, release, lift, release. Release the arms. Lift one knee, circle the leg. 1, 2, and 3. Step down. Lift the other leg. Lift, circle. 2 and 3. Step down. Feet wide, hands to the hips. Let your hips now take the figure 8. 2, 3, 4. Follow the stretch. Let yourself stretch into those outer hips. Maybe the feet step even wider and you feel the inner thigh. Now take your figure 8s backwards. Let the hips flow like water. Beautiful. Fluid breath. And then step your feet totally together. Bring your hands to your knees and circle. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Other way. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pause in this little bit of a hinge like you're in Utkatasana with your feet together. Let your arms open like wings and lift to the balls of your feet. Lower heels. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower and straighten up. And now take your foam roller. Inhale your foam roller up overhead. Step your feet outer hip distance wide, soft knees, and gently twist to the left. Inhale, center. Twist to the right. Inhale, center. Left and center. Right and center. Left and center. Right and center. Inhale. Inhale into the twist here. Fluid breath. Come back to center. Take the foam roller behind your head. Now, if this is hard on your arms, don't do it. But if you can rest your head back, traction the base of the skull, lift your head, lift your heart. If that doesn't feel good to you, just keep the foam roller overhead. Imagine that you have the base of your skull with the foam roller. Lift the base of the skull, lift your heart. Everybody, root your tail, lift your low back rib ring. And exhale back to standing. And let's come down and place the foam roller beneath our pelvis like we're coming into a bridge pose. So you'll come down like this and have the foam roller under your sacrum. If you don't have a foam roller, bring in your ball or your block. That's fine. And when you get here, just let yourself rest a moment and become conscious of your three-dimensional breath. We just did a whole lot of kind of dynamic warm-up, stretching, weight work. You can somatic walk with the roller underneath you, just gently side to side. Notice how that'll massage the tissue on each side of the sacrum. And then come to center. Lengthen the shoulders away from the roller. And breathe into the three dimensions of your torso. Relaxing on your exhales, release the hinge of your jaw, release the eyes back in their sockets, and take a moment to let yourself rest. Three-dimensional breath. Try to open in each direction. Open the back of the lungs, the sides of the lungs. And then if you have a foam roller and your hands easily reach to each side, then you can hold the foam roller and float one foot up to tabletop and the other up to join it. And begin your toe dips. One toe dips, it does not come to the floor, it comes back up, and the other toe dips. Remember, we're not bending at the knee. The knee stays in its 90. Beautiful. And we're not moving fast. We're inhaling down and exhaling up because we want that concentric stretching strength building. So as the muscle lowers the leg, it is actually lengthening and strengthening. We want that eccentric contraction as much as we want the shortening concentric contraction. So we slowly lower and lift and inhale and exhale. Lower and lift, inhale and exhale. Come to the top. Hug your legs together actively from the outer hips. Hug in. And take your right leg open like the page of a book and close and open left and close. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Fluid breath. Now, if for any reason when we do this work on the foam roller, you feel like, oh, it's so much better for me on a block or a ball, then feel free to come down and do that, okay? Come back into center. Draw your right knee to your chest, lengthen the left leg out, and switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. Or reach, and reach, and reach, and reach. Lengthen. Now, floint the foot and press with the big toe ball man. Spread the toes as wide as they'll go. And push, and push. Now flex the foot and press with the heel, lengthening the leg. Reach and reach. Remember, it's not fast. We're really focusing more on length. See if you can think of pressing out through that heel and actually lifting the femur bone a little bit out of the hip socket. Good. And then come back into your tabletop and take your right leg overhead, left foot long, and pulse, pulse, and switch. Pulse, pulse, and switch. Point your toes and stretch all the way up through the feet. Pulse, 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 pulse. Now floint the foot, pull, which means just flex the toes back on a pointed foot and spread your toes wide. Pulse, 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 pulse. Now flex your feet. Reach out through the heel. Pulse, 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 pulse. Bring your legs together. Open your knees. Bring your knees in towards your heart. Open them wide, circle them around and back together again. So you're still holding your roller. You're circling your knees. Feel the femur bone. Massage the inner lining of the hip joint, getting that synovial fluid moving. Take the knees down the center line, open wide, draw back in. Fluid circles, fluid breath. And then come back to center. Gently hug your legs together and roll your knees towards the left just a little ways. Now, if you have osteoporosis, you may not go too far. So start small, everyone, then roll to the right. You're getting in off the sacrum into some of these deep hip muscles as you gently roll towards the outer hip. And you may roll the knees down a little farther and come back. Take it slow though, so you can feel into whether this twist is okay in your spine. So you can stay with a very small side to side or a larger side to side, or you can roll off to the left and then straighten the left leg, stretch out through the left heel. So if you're rolling, sorry, not the left leg, the right leg. So the top leg, stretch out through the top heel and then draw the foot back into your bent knee position to roll back up. Roll to the other side. Feel into it. If you'd like to, lengthen the top leg, stretch out through the heel. And then bend the knee, come back to center. Let's try it one more time. Off to the side, straighten the top leg. If you'd like, you can stay bent knee. Draw the leg back in, back to center. Off to the right, straighten the top leg. Bend the knee, come back to center. Lift your legs straight up. Now, if you need to move around on your roller at all, always feel free to come down. Flex up through the heels and take the feet wide. Pulse, pulse. Bring them right foot in front of left, pass each other across the body, and then open wide again. Pulse, pulse. Left foot forward across. They cross each other. Then they open. Pulse, pulse. Right foot forward, cross. Out. Pulse, pulse. Left foot forward, cross. Open, pulse, pulse, and continue. 1 foot forward. We come into the cross to kind of stretch that outer hip. See if you feel that, particularly in the front leg. And then come wide with your feet and draw soccer ball size circles. Remember, you don't have to be your farthest extension. Come in a little from that so that you can feel really stable in the full range of your circle. And then take your circles the other way. Feel your adductors of the inner thigh working to maintain stability as you draw your circles. And bring your feet back up. And bend your knees and float 1 foot to the floor and then the other. And pause for your 3-dimensional breath. So a lot of good lymph work in the legs today with the feet up like that. Now breathe into the belly. And press your foam roller out from under your buttocks. And roll over and come up to sitting. And bring in your 2 yoga blocks behind you. I'm going to move a little forward because I think my name on my screen is blocking the view of my blocks. If you don't have 2 blocks, you could also do this on a stair in your home if you have some space in front of the stair. Bring the foam roller in up under the the upper thighs. Press down onto the blocks to lift up into a seat. And just roll the very top of your hamstrings. Yeah. So this roll pressure is just really good for the fascia because if there are adhesions along the fascia we're rolling, sometimes the rolling can help unstick them, can get the fluid moving through the stuck places. It also massages any scar tissue we have. So I had surgery on the back of my left leg and it massages that tissue. It also massages any fluid that might have built up around the scar. but we don't want to put too much pressure on if we have any kind of a recent scar. My surgery was in 2006, so that was a while ago. So don't do high pressure from the roller if you have a recent scar. So you can roll it farther down the knees. You can set your buttocks down. And as you're ready, you can bring the roller down to the calves. Set one foot on top of the other. Push back up with the arms and roll the calf. Okay, so now you're building upper body strength as you roll out the calf. And if that's too much for your wrists, I haven't tried this, but you might be able to come to a firm tabletop with your, well, I don't know if I'd say that. If it's too much for your wrists, then maybe you lie down on your back. You all keep going. Let me just think this out. You can switch calves if you've had enough of that one. What you could do if it's too much for your wrists is you could lie on your back and you could press down with your upper body and one foot off to the side of the roller and lift up and just roll by bending and lengthening the leg the roller's under. Roll that calf, okay? And if you have questions about that, we can look at it after class. All right, let's release from that and let yourself down off the roller. Bring the roller in front of you now and come up to hands and knees over the roller. Okay, so we'll try it in this upside down position. Push the roller through so that you have one leg, the knee is beside the roller. The other leg, the shin, is on the roller. And you can support the leg on the roller with the leg off the roller and the hands, and that'll take pressure off your wrist. So I'll show it to you from the front too. So I have one knee beside the roller and the other leg on the roller. Yeah, and I'm just rolling the one shin. So if it's too much pressure to have both shins on for either your wrists or your shins, then you can do it like this. Have the other leg off the roller and you can still get a lot of the benefit of rolling, probably more benefit than if you're on the roller and it feels like stressful to your body. Okay, we don't want to cause that stress. So now let's switch sides. So the other knee is off the roller. And you can lean as much of your weight over the shin on the roller as feels good. You might even kind of be able to lift the knee on the other side for a moment, the knee that's on the floor. And you may feel this as cramping in your feet. And as much as that may not feel good, it's a good sign that some of that tissue is opening up. So you can try this again side to side, or if you'd like to try it, both shins on the middle of the roller, both hands forward in your tabletop. Reach the hands pretty far forward so that you won't come forward of 90 degrees with the wrists, and then roll the shins out. Now here you're developing a lot of upper body and core strength because your legs are in movement on top of the roller. So make sure you're towards a little bit more of a pelvic lift. Beautiful. Feel the core strength as you draw the legs in and press them out. And then release to the foot side of the roller with your knees. And bring your quads onto the roller. So make sure you have enough mat up front for your forearms. Bring the roller to your knees and come onto your forearms and roll back and forth. So now you're laying on your quads right on the roller and really roll out that fascia. You can probably feel how this pressure on the tissue is going to move the fluid inside the tissue. Now you can keep rolling straight with your toes kind of pointed down and back, or you can come into turnout so that your toes or pointed out, your heels towards each other, and get the inner quad. You can open the legs wider and walk farther up to get different sections of the quad and maybe that inner adductor. If you feel a really tight seam, that's usually the connection between your adductors and your inner quad. And you can take your time kind of rolling that seam. And then you could come back to middle if you've had enough of that. And you could turn slightly to one side, lifting the top leg. You can move the roller out back behind you and lift the top foot to step down in front of you and start rolling your IT band. Okay, so it's a little awkward to kind of figure out how to get into these sometimes, but we get that outer quad. So if you roll more towards, if you roll more towards the front of the leg, you'll get that outer quad. If you come onto the side of the leg, you'll get more of the IT band. And you use the front foot on the floor to take the pressure off. So if it feels like too much, like it's like, ooh, that's so painful, then really press down into that standing foot and into the arms to relieve some of the pressure. If it's too much, if you have a hard foam roller, you might want to do this with a blanket or a towel over your roller, or get a softer roller. Okay, then let's step the knees down and come to the final side. I'm going to turn around so I can still see you. So you'll have the next leg towards one end of the roller and the other foot stepping off to the side. Now my arms are behind my name. My arms I check in with at the shoulder. Better to have your arm a little in front of you when you start and to continue to walk it out as you need to, so that the elbow isn't really in towards your hip too much. You're more drawing towards the arm. You're bringing the humerus bone towards perpendicular with the floor, but you're not taking the shoulder way out in front of the elbow towards the head of the mat. Fluid breath. Rolling your outer quad and your IT band. And hopefully you'll keep coming to class. If this hurts, you don't have to do it. We're trying to keep everything fluid, not stitched together too tightly. I don't know about you, but this side's tighter on me. Woo, howdy. Those of you who had the tighter side first, if you have a tighter side, you're probably like, oh, this feels so good. Okay. And then release yourselves off the roller. Press the roller out of your way and come to lying down on your back. Take a few fluid, three-dimensional breaths. And come in to your pelvic nods. Not tailbone towards earth and tailbone towards sky. Sorry, I had my chairs all set up to be helping me dry my clothes. Okay. So we nod tailbone towards earth, tailbone towards sky. And then coming into your somatic walking, pressing into one foot, lift the same side hip. And just release back and forth across your pelvis. Notice if there's a different warmth to your legs now. After all that myofascial kind of pressure and massage, continue to rock the pelvis and feel into your lumbar spine and invite the muscles between the vertebrae to gently pulse the tissue of the discs to hydrate. And breathe space into the spine. A lot of people in our culture are losing space in their spine, compression of the vertebrae. So breathe, really kind of visualize the creation of space between the vertebrae. And then come to center and bring your right ankle up over your left femur. And you can either exhale the left foot up onto a block or bring a TheraBand through around your femur or draw the legs in with your hands. You can wrap your hands around the femur bone or around the shin, whichever feels right to you. And then rock side to side. And perhaps you pause to one side where you feel the stretch and really breathe deeply into the stretch with the intention of inviting release on the exhales. So this is another way to stretch the myofascia open. We're coming up now to the top of the hip. Fluid breath. And then release back to center. Release your foot, the top leg, and switch sides. Make sure you let the top leg open at the knee and that you flex that foot before drawing in so you protect the knee. And then rock gently side to side until you find your stretch of choice, and then breathe into it. I invite you to relax the face, the jaw, the neck, and the shoulders. They don't need to be working too hard. In fact, you could even release the arms out on the floor. Really release the hinge of the jaw. And maybe this will send a message to the hip muscles. They too can relax into the stretch. And then release back to center. Release the bottom foot, the top leg. Come back to your somatic walking. And come to center, align your heels. Bring your arms into robot position and really rest the whole length of your humerus bone into the floor as you lift your pelvis. Come into a high version of your somatic walking. Now we're stretching the psoas pathway from inner thigh up to the lumbar spine. Feel for it. You may feel the stretch down the inseam of the leg across the knee. That's still the same fascial line. Now really try to really lift with the glute towards the lifting hip. Press it up with that glute involved, strengthening your glutes. Lift and 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 come to center and lift the whole pelvis. Press back into the whole length of your humerus bone. Find a gentle lift to the sternum and hug the sit bones together and release and hug and release, hug and release and hug and release, and lower your pelvis down. Nod tailbone towards earth, towards sky, towards earth and sky. Now reach for your foam roller. Bring it in under your feet. If you don't have a foam roller, bring in your blocks, 2 yoga blocks under your feet. With the foam roller under your arches, move your sit bones in as close as they'll come to the roller. Okay, so you get your buttocks as close as you can to the roller. Press down onto the feet and lift the pelvis up into your bridge. And again, somatic walking. Lift one hip and then the other. Gentle sway side to side. Gently activating one glute and the other. Lifting and swinging. Fluid breath. Relaxed neck. Relaxed jaw. Relaxed hands even. But the whole length of the humerus bone is conscious, not just at the elbow. And then come to center and lift the pelvis and roll down one vertebrae at a time. And draw one knee into the chest and lift that leg skyward. Arms back in your robot position. Press down into the one foot and lift the pelvis. And lower and lift. Lower and lift. Notice how it's a little harder on the foam roller, probably, than it is when you're on the floor because you have the possibility of movement. So you're stabilizing against that. If this doesn't work for you, come to foot on the floor. Lift to the top and pulse. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Flex the foot and lower the heel. Point the toe and lift. Flex and lower, point and lift. Flex and lower, point and lift. One more. And release the pelvis down. Step the other foot onto the roller. Draw the next knee into the chest. Lift the leg skyward. Broad across your shoulder girdle, long in the arms. Don't move too fast to really align well. And lift. And lower the pelvis and lift. Lower and lift. So we're just lowering the pelvis and lifting the pelvis, not the leg yet. Just a lower and lift. Yeah, Katie. So the foot just points straight up towards the sky and you're just moving the pelvis up and down first. And then come to the top of that bridge lift and it's like you're poking at a balloon with your toe. Poke, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then flex the foot. Lower the heel towards the floor, point the toe and lift. Flex and lower, point and lift. Flex and lower, point and lift. Only one more. And then lower the pelvis down. Rest both feet on the roller and just roll your feet on the roller. Like you have, what are those called? A rolling pin. A rolling pin under your feet. Roll towards the outer edges of your feet. Let your knees open wide. Just getting a gentle massage of the outer edge. And then roll in. Take your feet wide on the roller. Roll your knees in towards each other so that you're rolling the inseam of your feet. And then come back to center. We don't give the soles of our feet enough attention, so this is giving them a little love. And then release the roller altogether. Float one foot into tabletop, one leg and the other. Draw your right knee into your chest length and the left leg out. Nod nose towards mouth and almost lift or lift from your hairline. And switch and switch and switch. Here we are at our series of 5. Notice if your legs feel a little different after the foam roller work. If you're more conscious of the whole leg and even the foot. Can you lengthen the leg and relax the foot since it just got its little massage? Now hug both knees in, rest the head back, lift the hands and feet skyward, zip up the legs, take your wrists away from your ankles. Circle and hug the knees in. Remember, the heels stay glued together the whole time. We reach, circle and hug, reach, circle and hug. Inhale and exhale the hug. Inhale the length, exhale the hug. Reach and hug. Bring your legs overhead, left leg forward, right leg long, pulse, pulse, and switch, pulse, pulse, and switch. You can do this with your arms relaxed to your sides, or you can lift up towards your shin with your arms and your forehead. Pulse, 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 and then rest the torso back. Bring your legs into your tabletop and either toe dip one foot at a time, shoulders grounding broad, or toe dip both toes and exhale up. Remember, keep a right angle at the knee. So we're not bringing the heel towards the buttocks. We're releasing the femur bone towards the floor and back up. Lower and lift. Make sure your shoulders aren't following the knees as they move down. They're grounding back along with your lowest rib ring. And last one, come back up, place your hands on the front of your femurs, press the palms into your femurs as you pull the femurs towards your chest. Activate the core. Take nice fluid breaths. Remember, you don't have to be working at 110% of effort because I'm going to keep you here for a moment. We want sustaining strength. Let your consciousness really come into the body and feel what's heating up. And release that. Bring your hands one on top of the other behind your head. And exhale, lift your right elbow, lengthen the leg. And switch, switch, and switch. Really rest your head back. Feel into your obliques working now. Hopefully you'll feel like you've warmed up your entire body today. Reach the elbow, reach, and reach, and reach. And then come to center and rest the head and arms. Float one foot lightly to the floor and then the other. Take your feet as wide as the mat and let your knees fall off to the right. If you'd like, bring the arms overhead and lengthen the left side body. Fluid, deep, three-dimensional breath. And you may even stretch into a really big inhale for a long stretch of the body. And then relax and bring the knees to the other side. Stretching the right side body. Fluid breath. Inviting the breath to massage the myofascia towards a relaxed lengthening. And then on your last inhale, take an overly big inhale, which I usually tell you not to do, and relax and come back to center. Feet still as wide as your mat. Let the knees come together and just rest for a few moments. For a few fluid, three-dimensional breaths. And then roll yourselves over. Come on to hands and knees. Inhale your cow. Pause there in the stretch, isometrically drawing your hands towards your knees. And then exhale into your cat and hold there, pressing hands away from knees, breathing into the body. And then coming to neutral, take your sit bones back to your heels. I always seem to want you to take your heels back to your sit bones, but that would be a lot harder to do. And then maybe you sway a little side to side, or walk your hands around to one side, breathing length into the opposite side body. Relaxing on the exhales. And then walking your hands around to the other side if you like. Maybe the fingers walk a little further into the stretch on the inhale. And you relax into the stretch on the exhale. And then walk your hands back to center, at least shoulder distance wide. Roll your toes under and lift your pelvis, downward dog. Walk your dog, bending one knee and then the other. Resting your weight into the shoulder girdle, onto the hands. Lift the head and neck a little above the arms, long neck. And walk your feet towards your hands. And pause in your standing child's pose or unhinge into your Uttanasana, your forward fold. Deep, fluid breath. And then bend the knees, hands to the heart, unhinge. Come into your mountain pose and click your heels together, feet in your Pilates V. Rest back onto the whole circumference of your heels. Spread across the span of your metatarsal knuckles from big toe ball mound to pinky toe ball mound. And bend your knees. And lift your heels. And zip the legs together and lower the heels and bend. Lift, zip, and lower and bend. Lift, zip, and lower. Now lift and hover. Lengthen the spine. Draw the hyoid bone in. Bend the knees, lower the heels, and zip, lift. Bend, lower, and zip, and lift. Bend, lower, and zip. And let's inhale in. To the tools people have created to help us know our bodies better, let's thank them. And let's inhale in to a beautiful and safe weekend for all of you. And let's inhale in to our little community of well-being practitioners. Thank you. All right. So let me know how you're enjoying the foam roller work.
This was so cool. It was almost all new. It was very exciting.
Aha.